Good morning. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some duty glove options. So in my line of work, duty gloves are something that I have definitely burned through. You find one that you think is the answer, only to sit and hunt for the next best option. So I settled with a pair of gloves that cost about 20 bucks for probably the last, 3-4 years, just because they worked. They were fine. I was going to spend my money on something else. Then I started hunting for kind of a better option, a bit more dexterity to them, a little bit more durable, and can take a little bit more abuse. Not so much over the long term, but if I find myself in an incident right here, right now, I want those gloves to perform. The search took a while. I went through a couple different options, and then I actually found the First Tactical Slash and Flash. So these are made by First Tactical. The name kind of says a lot about the product itself. So flame resistant and cut resistant up to level 2 certified, which I assume is better than level 1 or potentially better than level 3, but I have no idea. So supposed to reduce the risks of on the palm side of getting cut. I imagine a needle is going to punch right through it just like anything else. So they are actually lined in Kevlar, which is what gets them to that level 2 certification. And they actually have Nomex on the back sides that help with that flame resistance. And they also have reinforced knuckles on the knuckle side, obviously here. So they fit great when you slide them on, and you can see that built-in knuckle protection that's not over the top, and it actually fits like a glove, like what the guys are obviously looking for. There's not a bunch of slop in these. The fingertips are nice and tight like we want them. Every now and then you get that hinky fingertip on one of your fingers. I've had no issue with that. So these run about 60 bucks. I burned through a few pairs of them, but that's just over time with wear and tear. If something's fitting tight like a glove, like you like it, eventually the seams are going to give on these things. So this is probably my 4th pair of these or so, but I keep going back to them because I've been very impressed with their performance, and more than anything, the dexterity of these things. When you're running a firearm, any type of fine motor skill, these things perform. Normally with gloves on, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. They're cumbersome, and nothing's like, nothing is going to be equivalent to your basic, free-handed operations of any type of system, but these are close. They get you right back in that ballpark. One thing I would like to see changed about them is the ability to stow them. I stow them kind of in a unique way, but I have a couple other guys that run these at my department, and this tiny little hook, or loop rather, is just really flimsy and hard to find. So to stow these or don and doff in a hurry is kind of a pain in the ass. I don't use this, but I know the guys who do run this have had issues with it, and they've kind of had to make some alterations to fix that issue. So sizing for these things, you can find it on First Tactical's website. I'd highly recommend you follow that sizing chart. I fell between a medium and a large, so for the first couple sets, I went with the medium. What I did find right out of the box, these things are tight, super, super tight. You really got to work to get them on. The mediums ended up being a little too tight for me, and I think that's why I was probably burning through gloves as fast as I was. So I ended up going with the large. So this is my second set of larges, and I went with the tan on this set, and I just thought try something new. I had been getting them in black, and they're not going to show as much dirt, obviously, and look a little bit more professional for a little longer period of time if that's something you give a shit about, which I personally really don't. Just thought I'd try something new. So level 2 resistance, we're going to kind of put that to the test, and we'll see what that looks like. We're going to put a little pressure on these things, see what it takes to cut through the palm of these. And then we're also going to mess around with this Nomex and see what flame resistance looks like. So first off, I want to show you guys where these things have failed for me in the past. So I'll toss on an older set that I just keep in the car for a spare if I need them at this point, but as you're going to see, I probably shouldn't be wearing these anymore. So the fingertips, I would go on these quickly. I find that my thumbs go, and then my middle finger goes pretty quick. Kind of the same story over here. The thumb blew out, and middle finger's starting to wear out there. So that's where I'm seeing the failures in these. And I mean, obviously because these are so tight, they do fit like a glove, you're putting a ton of stress on these seams. So those are going to be our fail points when these things finally do give up on us. So sure, the longevity of these gloves isn't great, but while I'm wearing them and while they're intact and haven't failed on me, they're awesome. They're the best thing I've found so far in the market. And for 60 bucks, it's well worth it to me to have that added level of protection. So let's try and destroy a set here. So the first thing we're gonna do, we'll take one of my older used sets. This is actually one of my mediums. I just stuck a piece of paper in there, and we're gonna take a blade to the palm of it, and we'll see what it takes to punch through this thing. I'm not gonna absolutely hammer it and try and cut through it. Obviously, nothing is meant to stop that short of some type of chainmail. So we'll put a little pressure on it with a blade, and we'll see what we can do to punch through it. All right, so we're gonna just use a small Columbia Rivers knife. It's fairly sharp, so let's give it a shot. Just put a little minute amount of pressure down the palm and give it a nice little slice. All right, so that pushed through about that first level there, but that definitely didn't penetrate. So let's give it a little more pressure. We'll cut on a different spot here just so we're not making a hole. All right, that was some moderate pressure. Same result. That's fairly impressive. All right, now we're gonna really give it. It's really doing pretty good here, so we're gonna give it some pretty good pressure. All right, that did it. So we're through right there. That's our cut there. The rest of this is just kind of a tear from that pressure downward, but that's the only cut that we ended up getting right there. So I took some pretty good pressure to punch that hole through it. But yeah, I mean, nothing's going to be cut proof, like I said, unless you're rocking a chainmail glove. So not too bad though. Those first two didn't penetrate. You wouldn't have felt that. You wouldn't have had any damage there. But you know, obviously nothing is completely foolproof. Well, let's light it on fire and see how that looks. All right, so we're just going to start with a little bit of exposure at a time, giving it a little bit of a taste with just a quick propane torch here. So we're not just going to sit here and destroy this thing. This is meant for, you know, brief contact with some flame. It's not meant to sit inside of a fire and burn for forever. So let's see what it looks like. All right, so it's holding together pretty good. You can definitely see some singeing on it, but I think, you know, a guy'd still be just fine. It'd probably be a little warm in there, but you're not going to have a nasty 3rd-degree burn from that. So let's blast this thing and see how long it takes it to light on fire here. All right, we are on fire. It didn't take too long, but once again, we're putting some pretty gnarly heat directly on this thing. So yeah, you're not fireproof, but for those quick exposures, that's not terribly bad. And yeah, we're burning straight through, so we're gonna feel that at some level. Maybe we'll see if we can, yeah, so we can see that we are getting through there. But for some brief exposures, not bad. Obviously, we're torturing the shit out of this thing. This is not what it's made to stop. But honestly, with, you know, blasting this with a torch compared to some nylon glove, that's fairly impressive. So why don't we do this? Let's hit kind of a cheaper competitor glove with some flame and see how that withstands it. And we'll also see if we can get some cuts into a cheaper glove and see what that looks like. So this isn't any type of fancy, crazy, expensive glove. It's just kind of one of your typical run-of-the-mill competitor, tactical, yada yada gloves that cops scoop up and wear for a week. So let's put the knife to it and see what that looks like. I have a feeling we're gonna see quite a different result here. So we got our paper in there too to simulate. So we'll go nice and soft on that first one. So that withstood it pretty good. We'll put a little extra pressure on it. All right, so on that second one, we're already cutting through. And it didn't come out the back, but yeah, on that second one, sorry here, camera manipulation, we're working on it still. That second one, as you can see, cut right through it. So not a ton of pressure applied on that one, you know, nothing compared to what we did to the first tactical. So let's light this thing on fire and see how it does. All right, let's get the flame rolling. We'll give it just a quick exposure like we did the first time, and then we'll let it have it pretty good. So just a quick exposure. And as we can see, melted through immediately. Right through. Those holes aren't supposed to be visible like that. So let's blast this thing and see how long it takes us to catch it on fire. All right, that was quick. If we're wearing this glove, we're gonna have some problems. All right, well, safety first. Let's get this out before I get screamed at by my wife. All right, guys, kind of to summarize that, the first tactical is our First Tactical itself is a quality company. We run a couple different pieces of their gear. The glove, I should not be surprised that I'm impressed with it. They actually have a cheaper version of I can't remember what it's called, but there's a cheaper version of this that's very similar, has the knuckle protection, but doesn't offer the same level of protection in regards to heat or cut. So I highly recommend them. I've had great success with them. It's something I'm going to continue to wear. This kind of speaks for itself. When you're putting a torch right to something, it's impressive that a fabric glove can actually withstand that for a period of time. And obviously in the field, I'm not going to sit there with my hand exposed to fire. It's going to be moving around. I'm going to be manipulating something, trying to rip somebody out of a car, whatever. So for brief periods of time, this thing is going to protect me from that heat extremely well compared to, the competitors that are out there. Worth the money. $60 isn't a ton of money when, you're thinking longevity as far as protecting your body and finishing up a 20-year career. You don't want to be tore apart by the end of that. So I highly recommend them. Go check them out. First Tactical Slash and Flash. Head up to First Tactical's website. Take a look at them. They're something that you can get in quick. You can find them in many, many different places. And you can probably find them a little cheaper on some of those law enforcement friendly websites too. So go take a look at them. Those are First Tactical Slash and Flash, guys. Thanks for watching.